In this video, we're going to be talking about two different functions, the equals rand and then the equals rand between. So what do these functions do? These functions actually generate a bunch of numbers, or they can generate random values. And what equals rand will do is it'll actually generate equal or random numbers between 0 and 1. So let's look at that. So if we say equals rand, it's going to generate numbers between 0 and 1. Whenever we're using equals rand, we just are going to say equals rand, open parenthesis and close parenthesis. We're not going to put any values in between. We're not going to do anything in between. We just want to say equals rand, open parenthesis, close parenthesis. It is a standalone formula that automatically just does its deal. So we say equals rand, and then we can actually take this value and drag it down. So what does this value do? It is now just generated 50 random numbers between 0 and 1. And we're actually going to highlight all this and just kind of shrink these values down to make it a little less confusing. To where now we have 50 random numbers between 0 and 1. And if you notice something, every time I type or do anything and I change this spreadsheet anyway, it's going to automatically generate a brand new set of numbers. So if you ever need to generate a set of numbers very quickly, you can do it that way. Now, what if we let's go ahead and copy all these numbers. What if we generated 50 random numbers, we've got them, 50 random numbers between 0 and 1, and now we want to keep them the same. We don't want them to be just changing every single time that we change this particular data sheet. So the way we're doing that, we're going to actually highlight them all, and we're going to right click and say copy, or use Control C. And then maybe we come off to the side and we're going to say paste. Only we're not going to paste it. We're going to say actually paste values only. So the hotkey for that is Control Shift V. Now you don't necessarily need to do this on your homework assignment, but I wanted to show you that if you've generated 50 random numbers, or you've generated random numbers, but you want them to stay the same, you're going to right click, copy, and then paste values only. Now if we type or do anything to this spreadsheet, we see that these numbers continuously change, but these stay the same. So we've got our 50 random numbers locked in place. Our 50 numbers between 0 and 1 locked in place. But that's equals rand. It'll generate random numbers between 0 and 1. What if we wanted to generate random numbers between 2 and 25? 50 random numbers between 2 and 25. For this, we're going to use equals rand between. So we're going to use rand between. And whenever we use rand between, we need to do a high and a low value. So in this particular case, we're going to do a low value of 2 and a high value of 25. So I just am going to go ahead and type those in. And then we can drag this down. And boom, we've got 25 or 50 numbers randomly sorted or randomly generated numbers between 2 and 25. Now, with the rand between, you can actually use cell referencing in it as well. So this is the next aspect I want to show you. We're going to use rand between, and we're going to have a low value of 1 and a high value of 60. Now, whenever we're using rand between and we cell reference, we always want to lock in those cells. Because we're going to drag that down. And as we drag it down, we still want it to reference those same two cells. So we're going to go ahead and lock those in. So we can press enter. Then we can go ahead and drag this down. And just like that, we were able to generate random numbers in between 1 and 60. Now, why is cell referencing handy? Because we can actually say, all right, well, we don't want random numbers between 1 and 60. We want random numbers between 1 and 50. And we can click enter and change that one cell by cell referencing. And now all of these numbers down here that we just generated are going to automatically update to be between 1 and 50. But let's go ahead and change that back to 1 and 60. Now what if we want to generate a bunch of random dates? Maybe for some reason you need to generate some random dates. So in order to generate these random dates, we're going to say, we're going to use another rand between equals rand between. And now we're going to actually plug in the dates. But whenever we plug in these dates, we need to put them in quotations. Otherwise, it's going to be trying to read it as a formula, as a number, and that doesn't work quite right. So we're going to actually physically type it in quotation. So 1-4-18. That's going to be our low number, because that happens first in chronological order. And then maybe our upper end is going to be this June 30th. Again, we're going to put it in quotation, 30th, 2018. And we're going to close parenthesis. And now we're going to be able to generate a random date sometime between those two dates. The key thing I want you to take away here is whenever you're generating random dates and you're typing in the dates, they must be in quotations just like that. And it's going to automatically bring in those 50 random dates in between those two. Now, what if we want to bring in another set of 50 random dates, but this time we're going to use cell referencing. So we're going to say equals Randbetween, and we're going to use our low date. We're going to lock that in, and our high date, and we're going to lock that one in. We're going to absolute that one in as well, and then we're going to press enter. And then we can simply drag this down as well. Now, again, we can use cell referencing, and if we use cell referencing, that's very nice. It works very well for us to where if we ever needed to change those values, we can, and that works, and that's going to be fantastic. So why does this work by cell referencing it, but it doesn't work to physically just type in those dates? It's because if you remember, every single date has an underlying number associated with it. So by typing in 4-18, if I just said number, it's actually equal to that number right there within the computer system. And whereas June 30th of 2018, that number is going to be equal to that June 30th, 2018 date, to where all we're basically doing is referencing a cell number and changing the format by which it appears, actually on the screen. So it will work very well. Dates will work very well by cell referencing as well on that Randbetween. So essentially, that's going to be that rand and that Randbetween. Remember, rand is going to be generating numbers between 0 and 1, random numbers between 0 and 1. Randbetween, you actually get to specify the numbers, and you can use cell referencing as well. And after you generate these, it will automatically being updated every single time you update this spreadsheet. Now, if you generated random numbers, you want them to stay the same, you can always highlight that data, copy it, and paste it as values only.